the more I use GTD, getting things done, and my planning setup in general, the more I realize that these productivity systems are as much about what you don't do, what you choose not to do, or choosing not to be productive, as it has to do with productivity. And it's like two sides of the same coin. To be productive to a certain extent, you need to rest and have, there needs to be a dynamic, a flow up and down, depending on your energy level and what happens during a day. Sometimes you may need that wiggle room, a margin for actually taking a pause. And I realize that not everyone is able to do this, and I have a very cushy job where I can sort of steer my time and manage when I do things. But if you're in the same position where you can actually choose, what can happen is that you have endless project lists and endless next action lists. So there's always something you can do. For example, this morning while I was waiting between meetings, I've had lots of meetings today, and between them I had like 5 minutes between each meeting. So while I was waiting in Zoom for the people to arrive, I did some of these things. I had to put documents in folders and share them, and just administrative stuff. So I did that because it just took a few minutes, and is really good to have your contexts divided by how much time or energy it takes to do things. So I have an administration context in the back here that I can pick and choose from. But that's just one side of the coin. The other is to not do anything at all. Today, I have examples from today of both things. So the productivity thing, yes, I used the 5-minute windows between each meeting to do these small little things and move forward on important stuff by taking tiny steps. But the other side, it turned out during one of the meetings that I have sort of messed up. I have done a bad thing, or rather I didn't do something that I should have done. I should have caught a few mistakes in a project earlier than I did. I caught them now, and it was like a bit too late, and I think we've salvaged the situation, but I did a boo-boo. So when that happens, I close down Zoom. I don't feel great because, I should have done better. You can just throw yourself headlong into the next project. Like I have written in pencil here that I have to listen to some discussions or presentations that people have done. So that's perfect for tidying up my office while I'm listening to these things. That's what I was planning to do after these meetings that I've had this morning. But right now, I feel, I could do that. I could use my time before lunch efficiently. I have like 45 minutes before lunch and do this thing. And like in the spirit of GTD, I would use that time wisely. I would sort of pick and choose from my next actions. But the thing is that I need to process what happened and the mistakes I made. I need to reflect and think and take a pause and think through, what do I need to do next time this kind of situation rolls around, which it will? How do I not make the same mistake again? And that's kind of, it's not doing nothing. I mean, part of it is like just checking out and maybe having a cup of tea and sitting staring out of the window. But part of it is also the planning part of work. I've heard it said that part of like work is divided into planning for work and actually doing the work, and that planning for work is as important as actually doing it, because if you're like winging it all the time without planning, it can take a longer time. So planning for avoiding mistakes that you've made in the future is part of planning. So next time I do this kind of project that I've been doing, that the meetings were about this morning, I can perhaps like have a sub project or a next action within that project and write that on my project spread. You know, check early that this thing is done, or that it's okay, that there haven't that mistakes haven't been made. So maybe that ends up being an item on the project spread. And it's important to actually take the time, if you have the time, to think about it, to plan for that, because you just had an experience of things going wrong, and you should make use of that if you can. So I think the 45 minutes I have before lunch, I should just close all of this down, maybe even take early lunch, you know, because I'm going into town anyway this afternoon, so I might want to eat dinner early as well. So why not eat an early lunch? And just, you know, let this thing sink in. Let my mistake sink in. You know, why did it happen? Well, I know why it happened, because I didn't have that thing on the project list. Like, check this before you go to this step. It's yeah, that's a problem. It wasn't, I hadn't broken down this project enough to avoid that. There was a margin for mistakes that shouldn't have been there, because there should have been a checkpoint where I made sure that everything was on track. So, okay, now I've already reflected on camera and I already know what my solution is, so I'll put it on this spread for next time. But I will still take an early break, lunch break, and just emotionally process what happened, because that's also important, because if I just rush headlong into the next item on today's agenda, I don't let myself feel it. And I mean, that is my go-to reaction, just suppress, move on. But I know it will come back to bite me in the ass if I don't deal with it. So I'll just go downstairs, have lunch, and sit and stew in my own incompetence for a while, and then move on.